Welcome to another Traffic Cardinal podcast where we discuss all things affiliate marketing. Our today's guest cuts an imposing figure in affiliate marketing. Please welcome CEO of IREV, Eli Vaksman. Hi, Eli. Can you forecast what might totally change about the industry in the foreseeable future? Say, will some participants fully disappear from the market?
I mean, isn't it natural, for any industry to really lose some participants? But I think the industry would grow, and it's projected to grow by crazy numbers. And everyone can look it up. With that kind of growth, you'll have more demand, and naturally, where you have AI systems that making everyone's lives a bit easier in some areas, would push and progress people to either invest in those businesses or try to scale them up.
I see. Thank you. Looking at today's market, do you think a single person working alone still has a real chance, or are we past that point? So, what about solo affiliates?
Actually, that's an interesting question. But look, the markets are always changing, shifting, especially now with everything going on with like AI and the advancement in technologies and tools. I do think that solo affiliates have a solid chance. Mind you, they have to really, really focus on some specific niche market. They really have to double, even triple down on something very, very specific that they know how it's working, or something that might be working well, rather than focus on like the broader markets and trying to compete, with the big players, the big companies, the media companies. Really, I think it's getting harder and harder. But for solo affiliates, it's still possible for sure to compete.
Wow, that's interesting. I actually thought that it was a little. Well, yes, it's definitely difficult for them, but I think it's more that they don't have a chance because the niches are becoming more competitive. There are lots of tools, and you have to be very much in tune with whatever is happening. The structure is finally attuned to whatever is happening right now, and new technologies are appearing more and more often. So you have to be very, very educated on the topic, I think.
I mean, look, for sure, for sure. I mean, anything you do these days, generally speaking, everything is getting harder and harder for companies, for especially solo affiliates. But if you for sure doubling down on your subject that you know very well and you're doing it fast and quick, and you're incorporating all kind of recent improvements in technologies, it's still possible to compete. But you for sure do have to know what you're doing, and dive really, really deep into it. And the benefit actually for you as a solo affiliate, in most cases, is really speed. I mean, these days companies, they take a lot of time to take any kind of decisions, strategic decisions, especially they're taking time, they're bureaucratic, especially the bigger companies. So as a solo affiliate, you have all the chances to act quick, and you're on your own, you make decisions very fast, and you just go for that niche that you're good at, and really you dive very deep into it, and incorporating any kind of creative thinking, any crazy ideas that might help you be unique in the market with, or specific industry or vertical that you're operating it can give you really a strong boost.
Yeah, and what about teams? Would it be more beneficial for solo affiliates to become a team, for example?
I mean, look, teams are, again, it's pros and cons. Any decision would have, benefits and downsides. So as a team, you still are able for sure to collaborate on ideas, on structures, on knowledge. That's probably the biggest one. Some other people, or even two brains are stronger than one. So obviously, if you collaborate with somebody, you may enjoy from that. However, the bigger the team, the slower the decision making within that team. So it's a natural occurrence to establish better processes in order to be faster and more efficient versus a solo affiliate.
Okay, and if a solo affiliate decided to build a team, where should they start, and what is the crucial cornerstone?
I mean, it's a solid question for sure. For each their own, I would say. So, some solo entrepreneurs, you could say, they're having a stronger, areas of responsibilities in one side of the business, let's say creative thinking or setting up specific processes or dealing with the technologies. So I would recommend for sure going and collaborating with people that would complete, the skills that you either don't have or don't want to make.
And what are the biggest mistakes affiliates can make during this process?
They're endless. They're for sure endless.
Well, let's say top three. Top three.
Look, I would say this: anything that is super crucial and might, be a disastrous mistake, those should be not overlooked, and you should take the time to make those decisions, especially the strategic ones. Anything to do with technology or budgeting, some solo affiliates, they start, and let's say if you have a limited budget, then you only have 1 or 2 shots at it, basically. So if you were to blow it, I mean, you may be in some issue, right? So I would say take the time where you should take the time, but act extremely fast where the mistakes might not be as crucial.
I see. So you practically propose that people, before building a team, should map out the entire process, what is more crucial, what is less crucial, and then, say, driven by this particular map that they have created, they should keep going according to that plan.
Give or take, right? You should always maneuver and try to look around and see what's working and what's not working, and act based on that, because there are so many factors in affiliate marketing. I mean, there are so many experts, and for one expert, something completely different may work, while for the same person in a different team or same position, it might not work. So really, it's a very individual kind of approach, I would say, and for sure, that's why the moving fast is working, because you can see what is working, what's not, and doubling down on what is working, and not dwelling on all the making things perfect, especially around the processes. Not everything should be processized, so
Okay. Yeah, and you have to stay flexible, especially in this very competitive business, I'd say.
Well, yeah, especially these days, for sure.
Obviously. Definitely. And how can okay, let's say how there is a team lead, obviously, and they need to keep the team engaged all the time. How can one do that?
It's a solid question as well. I would say it depends on the team, how agile it is, and how motivated they are. But I personally like understanding people's motivation, and each person is individual and have different motivators. But of course, in affiliate marketing, people want to make money, so I would understand how to structure the compensation structure in such a way that it makes sense for them to do their best work and push for stronger results, and of course measure the KPIs for them to be solid, to ensure step by step they're being achieved.
Would this approach work during stressful periods or some moments of rapid growth, for example? Or is there something else?
I mean, the bigger the growth, I would say, the bigger the motivation for people. So, I mean, if things are working, I wouldn't be changing them. However, it's not always, just simple as compensation structure, right? Sometimes it's lack of technology. Sometimes it's just out of your control. It might be some, bad accounts or websites that are not functioning as well as you would want it to. So understanding what is hindering any of the team members from progressing solidly, I would look into it.
Okay. Is there anything that shifts within a team when a company starts scaling rapidly? For example, there is a boost of morale, I don't know, or vice versa.
I mean, fantastic question for sure. In the past few years, when we scaled our company, we experienced rapid growth. We were preparing for scaling for a long time. And what I consciously did is not to scale too fast, because our teams had to prepare for that rapid growth. And for sure, you don't want to limit the growth of sales, because once our sales are rolling, you don't want to stop it, obviously. Anyone would not want to. But at some point, especially as a technology company, you have to be prepared for that. I mean, if you can't support all that growth, then you might, encountering some issues. So my thing was to really be attentive to what is working and what is not working, or customer feedbacks. If suddenly you see that, you're starting to get complaints where something is working too slow, you start adjusting the teams. So you either improve processes, you improve technologies to serve your clients a little bit faster and better. And in parallel, you looking into basically bringing more talented people to the team in order to support that growth. So for sure, there are different types of growths, and it depends on which industry or function of the business we're talking about. For affiliates, I mean, the growth is in theory potentially unlimited, right? Because you have the systems that are working, you have your partnerships with people that are basically buying your traffic. So it's a little bit faster and easier to scale than for, say, a SaaS company.
I see. So you would say that all those technologies and probably hiring decisions could become operational challenges.
Yeah,
when the company is growing quickly.
For sure, for sure. The operational challenges are real, and you don't think about them until you encounter them for the first time. But once you do, obviously, you know what to do the following times, and you can plan a little bit better for it. And back, I would say, like maybe 4 years ago, for sure, when we started our first kind of steps to scaling, or actually a little bit earlier than that, really, it was a challenge, because at some point you realize that, okay, you actually, it's not that you cannot onboard new clients, it'll just be very challenging, because you want to ensure that the level of support is not shifting down. And that's really the key, because it takes really long time to build your reputation in the market, and servicing your customers and making sure that they're happy and they're getting the service that they deserve, especially if your product or services are costing a little bit on the higher side. Then you want to make sure that you're not destroying this reputation and obviously high service.
So I would say this is the responsible growth in this case. You also have to be responsible, and you should understand where you can stop and think, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, unwillingly
you fail.
Risking, exactly, you're risking, failing in some areas of the service. People might not like it, or clients may complain, and you may lose some customers. But again, it's for each their own, and as long as you're acting quick to it, I think you'll be fine.
Should leadership as the process evolve during scaling? For example, you have to adopt new techniques, how to communicate with your colleagues, how to give feedback, for example.
It's actually very interesting. I would say probably yes and no, or rather on some areas you do have to shift yourself and adopt to new ways of thinking and new way of dealing with things, because obviously when you have, let's say, a headcount of 10 people, it's quite different than when you have closer to 100, right? So things for sure changing. You need different structures, hierarchies, even the management, whether if it's top managers or middle, things can be different for sure. So you need to adjust for them. On the flip side, and this is, I think, the more important part, because management and leadership, obviously, it's possible to adapt if you have the right tools, knowledge, and obviously willingness to learn. But what's more important is to keeping the things that's working untouched, especially if they're still working. So if your service is doing well, if and this is, I believe and argue, the most important part, if the rest of the team, while growing, are still happy and they're still pushing in every direction across the business, that's the most important part. Because when you scale, you bring more people, the culture might change, people might become happy or unhappy given different factors. So I would say keeping your team motivated and still pushing as if it's like day one in the startup is more important than some bureaucracy or hierarchies or setting procedures for every single case. I would say being that agile with the startup mentality would still remain in top focus for me at least.
So you're switching to the psychologist mode, I'd say.
Well, sometimes you have to, for sure.
You become the psychologist, not a therapist, though. I hope.
Well, yeah.
Okay, let's get back to solo affiliates because I have another interesting question. What's one thing that has become much harder for solo affiliates compared to, say, 5 years ago?
Fantastic question. Really, when you think about 5 years ago, I mean, everything was different. Sometimes you can barely notice all the changes or follow all the changes just within the last year. But for sure, back in the day, it was a little bit easier for affiliates. I mean, now some of the challenges are competing with big media companies that have really large budgets and obviously reputation. People know them, and again, it depends on the sphere that you're operating it. But even Google or Facebook, they're becoming harder to advertise if that's your source. I would say really understanding those challenges, how to deal with Facebook, Google, different technologies, fighting for attention. Really, that's one of the key elements. Is what's becoming much harder these days than back 5 years ago.
Yeah, I would say attention span has shortened in people.
Well,
it's very difficult to attract their attention and to keep it the same way. Because from what I see, there are lots of different platforms, say TikTok, then there is Twitter now, X also has this short videos, and then Instagram, of course. And people are trying to imbibe as much content as they can, but they don't really think about this content anymore. This is what I see. This is a tendency.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, look, surely you've seen all the research that's shown that short-term videos are impacting our brains and all that stuff. So certainly for people to get your attention, you need to either try harder or become more interesting, or really providing some unique perspective on whatever subject that you're into.
But still, it should be catchy, which I hate. Honestly, you have to have lots of different hooks at the beginning of the video, at the end of the video, in the middle of the video as well. And you're like, well, what am I doing? Am I trying to bring value to the table or something else? It's becoming very annoying, if you ask me.
It's the modern click and bait, in some degree. So still.
Yeah, true, actually. I didn't think about that. Yeah, waiting. But good old tactics.
If it works, it works. Who are we to judge?
Certainly. We're businessmen. Sure. Okay, there is a purely theoretical question for you.
Sure.
If you had to start over again with no team, no savings, no nothing, you're a sole player, would you still choose affiliate marketing or switch to something else entirely? Say, media business, some other sort of it, game design, I don't know, drawing, painting, whatever. It doesn't have to be business in general.
It's a fantastic question. Look, I can't say that I was like an affiliate in my career. I'm much better in building companies, scaling, taking care of revenue, and building the most amazing teams. I'm really lucky to have around me amazing people, and really that's really the trick for building software business, for example. But if I had to start today with nothing, really, I would just put a team behind me, and I think we would probably do well in almost any kind of business, especially if we were to go to the affiliate sphere.
I like your positive attitude. Well, people normally like that.
Thank you. But that's what it takes for sure. You have to remain positive and believe in yourself 100%.
No, that's cute. Honestly, I couldn't stop doing that. Okay. So now I have a very interesting question about AI, because this is a very contentious topic, if you pardon me. People actually are in split minds when it comes to AI. And here's my question. Do you feel excitement when it comes to AI, in our industry, or is the biggest change still ahead and you're just awaiting it?
I'm personally for sure excited about everything that's happening with AI. There's so much, talk for it, against it. It's gonna come for your jobs and whatnot. Really, I don't mind changes. As crazy they may be, and perhaps some jobs might disappear, or they'll become much easier to do, and you'll be more efficient in doing them. So, really, the progress is insane. I mean, I don't know how much you follow that area, but I barely find the time to really keep up with all the new tools that are coming up to the market. I do have my favorites, but I do push myself to try different things when I have the time in order to keep up with the trends as much as possible. But I do think certainly that the biggest changes are yet to come, and sure, there's and a lot of hyped technologies and hyped products that are just incorporating the words AI to it. And I would say it will be important skill to really understand what noise to ignore within that market, and especially everything to do with AI and their tools, and what to give it a try. So for sure, we'll see a lot of more changes to come.
And people on social media also speak about the AI bubble. I don't know whether you heard about it. And they say that that bubble is about to burst. Well, I've been hearing that since January at least. I'm not entirely sure whether it was this January or the last one. So my first question is, do you agree with the term AI bubble? Because Disney planned to invest 1 billion, I think $1 billion in OpenAI, but then withdrew. Then there was Sora that was shut down. So do you predict the bursting, or is it just some hype, some rumors, whatever?
Right. I mean, a fantastic question. I wouldn't try to predict anything. Absolutely not. Things are changing in such a way that it's really hard to know for certain. I don't think AI is going anywhere. In fact, I think it will enlarge. If anything, again, I wouldn't necessarily call it AI bubble. I may use the term overpriced a little bit in terms of the markets, and I would refer to perhaps companies like NVIDIA. So I would argue that maybe they're already pricing a lot of future growth, right? So to some degree, perhaps they're a little bit overpriced. But to say that it would burst, I mean, I wouldn't go that far for sure.
And also another question about AI. You say I'm an enthusiast.
Nice, nice.
From my perspective and my experiences in creative niches, I'm not speaking about business, but I have lots of friends and people I follow, writers, drawers, painters, artists, also all of sorts, composers, right? Composers, lots of people. And such people tend to criticize AI companies and AI in general, and large companies probably recognize the trend. They split the tasks between AI and human beings. Well, so the emotionally charged content remains emotionally charged, So, and my question is, are people still interested in AI technologies, or is the interest being lost in the process?
I mean, I think whoever is attracted to technology and improvement for sure will be attracted to it. I mean, I don't think even it's a question, it's a certainty. And really, the people that would really, really fall behind in terms of using technologies or adapting to new trends, I mean, you might risk on staying behind a little bit. And again, it depends on the sector or your role of work. But certainly, at least within my circles, I see people really, really excited by it. They're building, amazing tools that help them operate faster, more efficiently, which we've seen, happening all along in the past year or so. And I think this trend will continue for sure.
Okay, you tackled the question. Well, it's not actually the question, you just mentioned it, that all claims about AI repeat one and the same thing. Use AI, it will do your work for you, it might steal your work for you, and so on. And people usually say that AI is built to simplify processes, any processes, I'd say, from drawing to business, automating and so forth. But can AI actually do the opposite thing, say generate superfluous stages that you could do well without? Can AI complicate the process instead of simplifying it?
It's an interesting thought. I mean, if AI will suggest a bad response or a bad process, or maybe somewhere along the lines it will take a wrong turn and it would complicate your processes. I mean, I don't see why it couldn't happen. But I think it will be still faster to even encounter a bad process than to create everything from scratch and do a lot of manual work in order to get to the same point. So even if you get like a bad process or something that is not working in an optimal way, it's obviously your job as a human to correct that.
So you have to watch it and supervise it.
For sure,
I'd say.
for sure. At least in the beginning.
Definitely, because there were a lot of glitches. I remember that a few years back, I think there was Google Overview, if I'm correct, that gave weird advice, like eat glue or eat stones or something. I don't really remember what the issue was, but still, it was very well. It was not useful, to say the least.
Really? Well, I haven't heard of it actually.
Yeah. No, it was a big thing, and it was very, well, I wouldn't say popular, it was notorious across the United States, I believe, because they decided to release this feature for the United States and Canada uniquely, and then it shifted to Europe, but I'm not entirely sure whether they decided to go on. Because, well, it was very scandalous, you see. They were
True, true, true.
scandalized.
Well, a lot of things going in the US, and you can't keep track of them all.
Yeah, definitely. And is there anything AI has essentially made worse?
Huh. Very interesting. Well, maybe, for some people it might be taking their jobs. It's for sure worse.
Okay.
But, jokes aside, maybe it's taking away from the human touch of some things. I strongly believe that a lot of businesses, they're depending on human nature to communicate with one another and solve certain things. So if it's within challenges or certain elements that you're quite familiar with your business, perhaps it can influence those areas in a little bit of a negative ways. Or if you're looking at simple things as support for any kind of software businesses, most people do not want to interact with an agent or a bot, etc. So people still prefer to speak with humans for the most part. But I do think those bots and AI would help them sound more naturally. Already it's happening, and as the future progresses, AI models are progressing, and they're getting to know your business better, and it's up to you to obviously set them up in such a way that it would provide much faster and easier value to answer specific questions. So especially for technical people, a lot of technical people would prefer to just try to integrate a certain process, ask them questions, and get their answers right away. So I would say it depends on which side of the spectrum.
So you have to be balanced, I'd say, as usual.
Well,
you have to find the balance between the two.
Isn't it the key to almost anything?
Well, you see, sometimes it's necessary to incline to a harsher option, for example. So I'd say that balance is not always the key thing. It's not the operative word in certain cases, but here, yeah, I think you should add human touch to everything you do to be able to cater to the needs of, well, techno enthusiasts and people who don't like techno enthusiasts, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're all the public, all the audience. Okay. Is IREV integrating AI into its products?
Fantastic question. For sure. We've been, unlike many other companies that jumped on the trends and tried to use AI in anywhere they could just for the sake of, say, marketing, we didn't do that because we wanted to take the time to really provide and integrate AI in such a way that it would truly be meaningful. But certainly we are working on quite a few fascinating things, especially when you're logging to the dashboard of the platform. You'll be able to do a lot of interesting stuff off the bat. But I'll say that we will keep it still an internal way of developing it until we actually release it. But certainly we are working on a lot of things there. And most importantly, we already have customers that are using our products and services in such ways where it significantly improves their way of doing business, and I mean, some clients told me and swear by it that they did crazy things with connecting their own agents to IREV, and it indirectly and directly improves their ROI, their revenue, their processes. They're just doing things a lot faster and in such ways that helps them make decision faster as well.
I see. Thank you. And what's one question every affiliate should ask before buying an AI-powered tool?
I think, before you buying any kind of tool, I would just ignore the hype in AI whatsoever. I just look for, a tool for any challenge that you have in your business. I would just look into how it solves it and whether or not it has all the requirements to run your business or to solve that specific challenge that you're looking after. I'll also add to it that these days it's super easy, or rather, it's easier than before to develop your own internal tools for specific tasks, especially if they're not too complicated or do not require constant modifications and changes. But anyways, it's easier than ever these days, and for sure any affiliate that is trying to onboard any kind of tool should first define what they're trying to solve and work backwards in order to achieve that.
And now let's speak about the industry. We had a bridge from AI to the industry. So 5 years from now, what do you think disappears from affiliate marketing?
5 years from now, what can disappear? Oof, what a question. I mean, I really, having hard time thinking 5 years ahead with all the changes that are happening.
I understand.
It's
I
really
understand. Lots of regulations, everything shifts, everything is changing as we speak. So yeah, but let's say projectively.
Sure. Nonetheless, I would say that the market would become even more polarized than it is today. I'd say that the big companies that have big budgets, the big media companies, they would become bigger and bigger, while the mid-range of the market would break down into even smaller mom-and-pop shops, so to speak. So there will be more solo affiliates, and simply because it'll be easier to do everything on your own. I mean, with AGI being projected by multiple, people on the planet to reach us by as soon as 27, you never know how it will really impact this industry, and perhaps there will be no need to build large teams and have massive investments because it'll be super easier to do the things that you've been doing today. However, with such progress, you'll have more competition, obviously.
From what I know, the concept of easy money was very much in focus in affiliate marketing for, say, 8, 10 years or something. And is it still there? Is easy money still available, say, for people who have more data, more tools, more skills, or the era of easy money has come to a close?
Fascinating question, but cannot necessarily agree that easy money was back then easy money. Even then, I would say people had to put hard work into building something, or perhaps it looked this way where people just wanted to flex, especially online, to build more hype to their brands. But yeah, I don't think things are gonna get easier. If anything, well, you're gonna have easier tools and easier implementation of different tools to do whatever that you need in any of your workflows. But if it was that easy, everyone would be doing that. So
True. I think that we have lots of different tools to do lots of different things and, well, kind of make all our dreams come true. But at the same time, you have to be extremely resourceful, extremely witty in order to attract attention, to stand out from the crowd, to, I don't know, to be the one that people actually choose, the audience chooses.
for sure, you have to remain unique in whatever that you do. But really, consistency is the key, in my opinion. I mean, if you put the time, eventually, it doesn't matter what, you probably can figure it out. Especially if you have the knowledge, the know-how, and the grit to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially the consistency part. Even, well, I'm not a businesswoman, as you can see, but I would say I'm a micro influencer on Twitter. Obviously, that's terrible. I have to admit to that. But still, you have to be very consistent with what you do. People follow you just because they see that this account is active. They want to read you constantly, and probably this can be applied to every other, well, other area and sphere. I think not about just posting something, but introducing new features. I don't know, changing your approaches, adopting new regulations, probably fixing something. At least this is how I see it.
Certainly, certainly. I mean, consistency is a key, and especially if you can deliver, great value across the board, or entertainment, or whatever your, specific area that you're good at. I think people would value and want to see that.
And how do you think, is it harder to make money compared to the concept of easy money we've just spoken about? Is it harder to do right now than it was 5, 6 years ago?
Again, yes and no. I think it's quite, broad statement where nothing really is coming easy these days. But at the same time, you have faster tools and more efficient ways to reach that point. But with such efficiencies, you have more competition from any area of the business, whether you're an affiliate or you're building your software business. So if you're competing now with the software businesses, for example, and AI can create your own tool that would do the same, then it comes to the point where either you know how to do it and set up for your own business, or you acquire it as a service. So, and then as if you have a lot of services that are doing the same thing, it comes down to pricing, competition within any kind of market, or if it's a niche market, then how the service that you're providing becoming more efficient and better. So there's a lot of factor to it. I would say it's really hard to tell, but certainly one can argue for both sides.
And would you say that more experienced players have more opportunities? And isn't it influencing novices? Because people with less experience and probably fewer skills can feel driven out of the game.
For sure. I mean, look, for companies that know what they're doing, they're going to keep doing more of it and improve their processes even further, and certainly chase bigger numbers. While the novices will have a bit more of a challenge to getting into that game. But at the same time, I wouldn't discourage them, from trying, especially these days where things, let's say, are getting easier to be implemented within your structure, and you can actually become more efficient on your own. But it comes to the point where, is one willing to invest, and doubling down on a specific area, and they know how to narrow down and ignore the noise.
Let's speak about you. There is a question that I find particularly hilarious. I like it, honestly.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
What's something you personally use today that you're almost sure your future self will laugh at? Tools, approaches, probably some gullible notion that you have in your head.
Wow, it's an interesting question, actually. Probably, even me prompting or trying to build specific workflows on whatever tools I'm using at the moment. I'm fond of Claude, obviously, for now. The future might change so drastically that you'd be laughing, okay, I had to actually write prompts. Maybe, down the line, you'll just be speaking to a tiny chip, whether if it's in your brain or your watch or something. You never know what's gonna, the future hold for us.
Oh my god, tiny chips in your head. I think that Elon Musk was onto something. He actually introduced something with the chips about listening to music. I don't really remember. There was something.
I mean,
some kind of startup.
The guy is completely, honestly, is crazy. I mean, his imagination and execution is second to none. Really, it's incredible. But for sure, he's setting many, many trends that would influence our lives in the future.
I hope to live without chips, honestly.
I mean,
that's strange. That would be strange.
I mean, I don't think. Well, I don't want to decide at the moment. Let's wait and see how it would work. Maybe it will be so useful in actually worth it. But at the moment, I would say that I would probably try to avoid the chip in my head,
But
at least for now.
seriously, the implementation process, how would they execute that? I mean, do they have some, I don't know, the clip, or where does it go? Do I need to have my skull splayed open? I don't know.
I mean, for sure, the future may hold a lot of mysteries for us, but certainly, I think anything with speech would be much faster and easier, especially if it's in a small object. It could be anything that you use or wear on a daily basis, and you just communicate, or it might be even farther integrated to your life with your cars, maybe your fridge and whatnot. So you'll have like a kind of a single or multiple agents to do whatever you need.
What's one sign that tells you for sure the industry is about to get even more harder again in the near future?
I'll probably argue for competition. So the more competitors, the more fight for attention. Basically, the harder it gets. And again, when things are getting easier to achieve or operate and done, then that's a factor for sure. But also, things are getting harder because platforms like Facebook and Google perhaps are increasing their either regulation or terms and conditions, which you need to know how to comply with. And we are really big on compliances and everything to do with legal frameworks. It just like becoming a bit of a challenge for some, if you're talking about affiliates, for instance, to run whatever campaigns. It could pose a challenge. So yeah, regulation, funds, having the budgets to run your operation is for sure something that I would say important and could provide a solid challenge.
Eli, thank you for your time. It was an exciting conversation, and I know you're always extremely busy, and I'm immensely grateful for the talk. Hopefully, my dear listeners, it was as useful for you as it was for me. Hope to see you again, here or on our socials.